So, about a month ago, during quarantine, I decided, out of sheer boredom, to play the European lottery. Believe it or not, for the first time in my life, I had won something. And not just a little win, but the whole jackpot was mine. I was literally shaking at first and just wanted to scream and tell everyone. But I decided to just calm down and plan out what I'm going to do with it. The money I received is immense. Like, I never have to work a day in my life. Neither will my children if I decide to have them. And I still had enough left over to give to my brother and parents, so they, if they act responsibly, will never have to worry about money again either. On to the point. The females on my mother's side of the family have all pretty much crappy genetics when it comes to hair. We're all mostly losing hair and have visible bald spots on our heads. Mine started at the age of 15, which was a huge blow to my self-confidence. It's not horrendous, but it is something that I've always said I'd fix for all of us if I had the chance. And now I intend to keep my word and said anyone who wants hair implants is welcome to join, and I am paying for everything. It ended up being only me, my mom, and my aunt, mother's sister. As I am arranging all of this, I get a call from my mom. Apparently, my cousin, mother's brother's daughter, would like to have me pay for her fertility treatment instead of the hair transplant, which was never even considered for because, luckily, she has really nice hair. I was kind of weirded out by the request, especially since she didn't reach out to me in person. Her mom called my mom, and because she has some issue with me and avoids me at all times. But now, all of a sudden, I'm supposed to be friendly and pay for her treatments. I flat out refused, mainly because we have a history where she really wasn't nice to me, and she used to pick on me, and partly because, well, it's my money, and I don't want to spend it on someone who wasn't my friend, and kind of always hated me a little. Another thing is, well, I've not quite looked it up, but I think these treatments are far more expensive than just a hair transplant, and I think she just saw a nice opportunity to milk me a little with the added pressure from our families. So now my mom and aunt are saying I have enough money to pay for her as well, that I'm an a-hole if I don't, because it's such a life-changing thing to be a mom, and if I don't do it, she can never be a mom, and that they'd rather I spend the money I was going to spend on them, on my cousin. I'm thinking of just getting some hair for myself and thinking duck them all, but would I be the a-hole then? Not the a-hole. All kinds of people come out when someone suddenly has money. Your jerk cousin wants to play nice now that someone can pay for her treatment, but she won't even contact you or your mom herself. She had her mommy contact your mommy. You do not have to spend your money on people who were not there for you when you had nothing. That's not being greedy. It's being realistic. Your real friends were there 2 months ago before you had the cash. Anyone who pops their head up now is just about the money. And unfortunately, anyone new who shows up, you have to be careful about. Are they trying to be your friend because you have money? Or are they just a cool person? Not the a-hole. It's your money, so you choose what to use it on. If she has never been nice to you before the money, it's clear she is now trying to use you for her own benefit. I suggest you keep the money a secret, as it is possible more people like her will try to use you. Not the a-hole. Your money. Spend it however you want. Also, put your foot down now about what you will and won't pay for. When people find out you have money, they'll start to try and take mega advantage of you. People coming out of the woodwork. Friends you haven't talked to in years contacting you. Family members with all sorts of emergencies. Learn how to say no, and learn it quickly. Update. Okay, since a bunch of people are PMing me about the amounts, and some about how a baby is the most important thing, I can tell you my parents, brother, and aunt are the only ones who received money from me. It was because they were always there for me, and I felt loved with them. I got around 80 million euros after tax. Parents, brother, and aunt all received around 5 million individually before tax, which is 25%. So if they want, they can ducking pay for her baby treatments. Nobody wants to ducking pay for it because they say these things can cost up to hundreds of thousands of euros for a single try and not even work the first time. And everyone wants a big house, vacation home, new car, etc. first. I'm the one with the majority of the money still. I was also the worst for not giving everyone in the family an equal share. My mom has 2 sisters and a brother, and I only gave money to one aunt. Because if I had given cousin's side of the family the same amount of money, nobody would be upset, and they'd pay for it themselves, with my money, but okay. She and I have had a history where I was really young and thought she was my best friend, and I was really loyal to her, but she accused me of trying to steal her boyfriend and made fun of me behind my back whenever I left the room. She told everyone I was still a virgin at 16, and her and some guys made fun of me, which now I'm kind of proud I wasn't an S. I cut ties with her around that time because I had felt betrayed so many times up to that point. From then on, we've never really got along anymore, and she has never showed any interest in me up until now, when I am suddenly rich. Now I should be a good cousin and pay for her to have a baby, or maybe a few, eh? Well, after reading all of these responses and having some time to think, I've decided to not go ahead with the procedure for anyone but myself. Everyone just seems so entitled, and I feel like I'm a new toy for everyone to use and abuse until I'm not interesting anymore, and have given them all they can get. I am sad and disappointed, but like they say, money can't buy you happiness. But it hurts less when you cry in your mansion. I don't have a mansion, just trying to be funny. A couple of years ago, I married into a large family. My husband has 2 brothers and 6 cousins, boys, who all grew up as one family and literally call each other brothers. We tend to meet up at least once a month. My issue isn't with the boys. It's that 6 of them are married, and there is a weird dynamic within the wives. The main issue is that my husband used to date his cousin's wife's sister before he met me. Weird, I know. They broke up 6 years ago, and even though I didn't even know him when he was in the relationship, it's clear she thinks I have something to do with it. She pretty much doesn't acknowledge him and is very frosty with me, with catty comments thrown in. I'll call this sister-in-law Charlotte. Everyone knows she is like this too, but no one makes a big deal of it, including us. I understand that she has a reason for her behavior, even though sometimes I find it frustrating. The guys generally make light of the situation. Example, there were lots of jokes when I got her for Secret Santa, so it's out in the open that she dislikes me. As I'm the newest wife and also feel like I'm in a somewhat hostile situation, I used to get quite anxious when I was around them. I discussed this with a different sister-in-law, let's call her Miranda, last year. I actually ended up breaking down and crying about how hated I felt when I hadn't actually done anything wrong. Miranda was understanding and basically said she knew Charlotte should get over it and hopefully she would soon. So the most recent thing that happened was that I mentioned to Miranda a group activity we could do with all the wives. It was basically a paid activity and something you can only really go to once. She said it was a great idea, and I said I'd bring it up next time we were together to arrange a date. A couple of weeks later, she messaged the rest of the wives in our WhatsApp group, suggesting this activity and asking for dates we are free. Charlotte throws out a date she can do as her schedule is the most packed, and I say I can't do that date but suggest alternate dates. Without even responding to me, Miranda says as the majority can go on Charlotte's date, we'll go with that date. So they basically planned and went to the event I told them about without me. Bearing in mind everyone else could have gone on several other dates, but that would have meant no Charlotte. I got really upset by this, and my husband basically thinks I'm being unreasonable. I think it's the issue for me, 1, I feel like the least important one of the group anyway. 2, there was no acknowledgement of me when they made their plans, or that I came up with the activity. 3, Miranda knows how Charlotte treats me and how she makes me feel. She doesn't care. I've basically told my husband I won't be meeting up with him separately anymore, without him and the boys, as I don't feel valued, but he thinks that's a really petty move and will lead to issues in the future. I'm also reluctant to bring this up to the wives, as I don't want to make this into a huge awkward thing. It's already bad enough when we meet up having to deal with Charlotte. You aren't being petty, and you don't have to be friends with them. It's okay. You have to be civil at holiday functions, but don't have to see them otherwise. Anyone would have hurt feelings, and your husband is not exactly being supportive of you and your feelings. Your feelings are valid, and you should insulate yourself from future psychological harm. Try to make your own friend group if you don't have one. Maybe take up new hobbies and the like. These people aren't your friends, and clearly don't want to be. I understand that sucks, but you're giving them a lot of power that they don't deserve. No one is obligated to be another person's friend for any reason. Stop trying. You need to sit your husband down and explain to him how important it is that he get on your side. Of course, he is allowed to exercise his own judgment and call you out when you are wrong. But in this case, you are not. It was your idea. You weren't given credit for it, and you were cut out. If he doesn't understand how crappy that is, then you've got more than sister-in-law issues. You should talk to Miranda directly. Tell her exactly how what happened made you feel. She either takes that information and tries to make it up to you, or she proves herself not to be your friend. The last secret I am going to impart. Stop worrying about making people upset. If you are making an honorable effort to be reasonable, find compromises, and avoid cruelty, then duck the people who get upset. It's on them. The key here is being thoughtful and reasonable, which it sounds like you are. At this point, your goal is not peace, because no one cares about your needs. At this point, your goal is boundaries. Again, well thought out, reasonable ones. Unfortunately, you have to start with your husband. He has to have your back. Edit. A couple of things to mention. My husband's brothers, cousins, are his best friends. He has other groups of friends that we see, but there is an obvious difference in the closeness. That's why we meet up with them so much and are all so interlinked. I actually enjoy hanging out with the guys, and we get on great. I also have good friends, though many have moved out of town, But it's true that I need to make an effort to make sure my life is full outside of this group. I don't want to paint my husband in a bad light. I agree that I need to spell this out to him more clearly and provide more context. His response was more that if I act off the back of this and withdraw from the group now, I will feel more isolated and awkward around them and then regret it. I actually think I need some space from these girls so I can feel like myself again, and hopefully he will understand that. The way he handles things is different. Example, he thinks it's Charlotte's loss that she doesn't speak to us, as we are great and she's missing out. Obviously, it affects me more deeply, and I need to communicate that. I'm also taking on board the advice of meeting up with my sister-in-laws one or two at a time. I think this would work really well. And to be honest, my main issues are with Charlotte and Miranda, so hopefully I can make some stronger connections so I don't feel as isolated in the group. I'm a classic people pleaser that wants to be unanimously liked. This is not an appealing quality, and it's refreshing to remember that not everyone will like me, and that's okay. My husband is the youngest of two boys, and my mother-in-law favors his older brother, my brother-in-law. To give an example, my husband does her weekly shopping and drops it off as she's vulnerable and shielding due to virus. He's done this every week since March. She has shown little appreciation and expects him to do it. Twice my brother-in-law's dropped by with bulk-bought tea bags or bottles of water, and she will go on and on to anyone who will listen about how he goes out of his way for her, his kind heart, he looks after her. There are also many times that my husband and brother-in-law have given her a joint present, and she will hug brother-in-law only and say, "I know brother-in-law really gave me this." I know she loves my husband, and I think the reason for this is that brother-in-law took on a lot of responsibility when they were young, and my husband was shielded from things. My husband stepped up in the last 10 years or so, and brother-in-law has stepped back due to his own family responsibilities. But my mother-in-law hasn't changed her mindset. So at the weekend, we went to drop shopping off at her house and stopped for a chat. We were talking about my pregnancy, and she turned to me and said, "You do know I will never love any grandchild as much as I love brother-in-law's son, because he is brother-in-law's child and my first grandchild." I have no idea why she said this to me, and maybe it's common for grandparents to favor their first grandchild. But she knows I'm 20 weeks pregnant, and I already had it in the back of my mind that we would be treated differently. My sister-in-law already gets special treatment for being mother of this grandchild, and I thought having a baby may change this. But it looks like it will just highlight the favoritism more. My husband thinks I'm jumping the gun and getting upset before anything has happened. But I feel so down about this unnecessary interaction and having to deal with this once the baby is born. Mother-in-law, thank you for letting me know that you will never love my child as much as you love my nephew. You do understand that since you have promised to teach my child that they are less than, you have guaranteed yourself a very limited place in their life. If and when you can prove to me that you are capable of keeping your prejudicial favoritism to yourself, we can revisit what, if any, relationship you will have with my family. I would have immediately responded with, "Oh, good. I knew my mom would be the favorite and most loved grandmother. I'm glad you see it too. Thanks for ducking out. Every future Christmas with number one grandma is fantastic." And sit back and watch her stroke out while backpedaling. I, 28 female, paint broken, unsalvageable antique and vintage furniture. My brothers, 25, ex-fiancé, 32, used to bug me about selling him one of my vanities, and I told him I'd give him a $200 discount on the one she wanted. That was 8 months ago, and I never heard anything back, so I started doing it how I wanted it done just recently. I recently finished my own vanity that has always been mine to keep. I had time between custom orders and for sale pieces to finally finish it after owning it for 3 years. I posted the photo, and my brother comments for me to let him buy it, and I told him it was mine. Well, she comments under our thread, "I picked out the color scheme. This piece was supposed to be mine, but it don't surprise me one bit. One more thing gone of mine. Enjoy it." Not only did I point out, "Hey, this isn't your piece," but I also told her I don't know her a damn thing. She started messaging me back and forth about how I promised her. I did not. And that it was her vanity. It wasn't. So I sent her the pictures of each to compare, and I told her nothing was hers until it was paid for, and it wasn't. She is no longer with my brother. She treated him like dirt and was cruel to him, and now won't allow him to see their daughter. So she gets absolutely nothing from me, and I blocked her. A few days later, she texts me through what I can only assume is an app, and asks if she can still buy it. She didn't once apologize for commenting that disrespectful crap on my business page. I haven't replied, and I refuse to. Am I the a-hole? She is telling some mutual friends that I stole it from her, when that couldn't be further from the truth. I won it at an auction for $25. I'm going to continue to ignore her, and when I am finished with it, in the style I want to do, I'm going to sell it. Not the a-hole, but please tell us your brother is pursuing his parental rights through the family court system. Not the a-hole. You can't steal what she never owned. I would suggest blocking her and not engaging with her further. You can't argue logic with crazy. Any further interaction won't help the situation.